All right. Welcome into Double Fries No Slaw, the morning show. It feels good for football to be back. We'll wait for some people to get in here before we get anything too deep. So I'll just kind of start rambling to get us started. But last week was really relaxing, but because you had the bye week sucked. All right. I mean, I was thankful to just relax and enjoy a really good Saturday of college football with really good finishes in all three windows. When you think about Georgia Tech, Clemson, and then obviously Georgia, Tennessee, and then it was great to watch LSU blow it, Florida blow it to LSU, and Notre Dame, Texas A&M. So there was good stuff all day, but you ride the high off of Alabama, and then you have a terrible opponent, bye week, terrible opponent, and so no shots at Kent State. But I would like to see good football again. So next Friday, what are we, 9 days away from that? I will be in Charlottesville. If you're going to Charlottesville, if you're on the road at all, if you're traveling with the Noles, I guess, hit me up. I should get to Charlottesville at like 1 on Friday. I'm not staying around all weekend. I actually think I'm going back down to Athens for their game against Alabama the next day. But if you are in Charlottesville, if you're going to that game, whether you hear this on audio or YouTube or wherever you see this, hit us up. I have no plans in Charlottesville. Well, to go to the game, obviously, but I'm around all day. So hopefully you guys are there too and we have a good time. But the bye week was relaxing. It was nice to enjoy other football, and I'm excited. I'm taking my little girl to Doak this weekend. I took the boys for East Texas A&M. I'm taking my daughter this weekend. We'll have fun. We'll enjoy it. I'm looking forward to it, but I would like to see some good football soon. And I'm not saying that we didn't play well against East Texas A&M, but I would hope you guys understand what I'm saying. I would like to see it. It doesn't feel great to stress out, and Florida State certainly stresses us out at times, but it does feel a little good to stress out for 3 hours, especially when you finish it the right way at the end of the game. We'll do call-ins on this show. We'll put a link in the comments. Harlan's probably already done that because he's better than me. Yep, he did it 2 minutes ago while I was rambling. But there is a call-in link if anybody would like to call in. I'll also just go through a bunch of comments today if we have time. I'll always give precedence, to the callers. So if somebody can dial in or wants to dial in, I'll always kind of pick that first. But if we don't have a lot of callers, we did have a lot last week. If we don't have a lot, then we'll read through as many comments as we can. I don't really push for super chats just because YouTube takes like half the money. You certainly can like Venmo, Double Fries No Slaw, or PayPal the show or whatever. But if you want to do a super chat, we'll make sure we read that as well. Put a little breakfast in this morning. We used to have, well, it was like a trial thing, but we used to have a sponsor, and I would tell you what that breakfast was if they would ever come back. So, but they haven't. So, all right, let's get into it. I did see some depth chart updates, which I do want to somewhat take with a bit of a grain of salt, but they seem to be like not the worst updates for FSU. Mike has not always been, I don't know what the right word is. Like, just because somebody's on a depth chart doesn't like automatically guarantee that they're going to play or automatically guarantee that they're healthy. But I do think it's a good sign that some of the guys that we had some concern about are on the depth chart. Squirrel White being on there. I see Hunter asking about that in the comments. I mean, I think that's good. I don't know that I would, unless he's like 100%, I don't even know if I'd play him at like 95. Because you just don't need it this week. I am very confident that Brock Glenn or Kevin Sperry could start this game and Florida State would be just fine, probably win fairly comfortably. And so, not that you would do that. Like, you're going to put Tommy out there and you're going to try and work on as many things as you can. But you don't need Squirrel White in this game. So it won't even bother me if he doesn't play, but I think it's a good sign that he's on the depth chart. I mean, Mike is not necessarily the kind of guy that's going to put every little secret or wrinkle out or whatever. But I mean, you can see that Roydell's not on the depth chart due to injury. You can see that, why am I blanking? Tight end from UCF. Randy Pittman's not on the depth chart due to injury. So yeah, I think it's a fairly good sign that you do see, Squirrel White offensively on the depth chart. All 5 offensive linemen, you've made it through a 6th of the season with all of them there. And if you want to if you want to have a good year this year, if you want to have the year that we all kind of are hoping for at this point, I think you need to continue to see all 5 of those guys out there. Although I mean, it was East Texas A&M, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Some of the guys didn't look terrible and blocked out pretty well. Sandman Thompson did a really good job. I just, don't know that I'd love him to have to play against like Miami or Clemson or something like that with their talent. And then on the defense side of the ball, James Williams, kind of same thing there. I don't know that you need him to play, but there was some concern or, just him kind of getting banged up in the end of that in that game that you just wanted to make sure that he was out there and good to go. And so good to see both of them back in the depth chart. I think that's good news for FSU. I would be surprised if Pittman was back by Miami. We'll kind of see how that ebbs and flows. I don't know that I've really liked him so far. I've got no complaints there. I don't know that he's kind of the difference in what you're going to, what your result against Miami is going to be. It's kind of the same thing with Roydell. I think he gives you a little bit different of a look. I'll tell you his 4th down conversion against Bama, obviously massive, but I don't know that, not having Roydell or not having Randy Pittman is going to kill you for that game. But anyway, all that said, good to see Squirrel and James both back out there. Good news for FSU. What I am very curious about with this, and not really so much as a result of the game, and we say we'll preview the game tomorrow night. We will get on and have a show and we will preview it and we will talk about things we want to see. It'll be very little about Kent State. I mean, no offense to them. Hey, they are 1-2, right? So shout out to them for getting a win. No, they're not. I'm sorry. No, they did. Yeah, they beat Merrimack. Does anybody know who Merrimack is? Did you know that before we started? So I guess they did get a win in week 0. Lost to Buffalo last week, hung somewhat tough with them, but that's a terrible loss. Let's not pretend like that's a good win at all. Is Buffalo in the FCS or the FBS? They must be in the FBS because they're in like Bowling Green and stuff like that. So, they played close with an FBS opponent. I mean, Kent State lost to Texas Tech by, if my math's not terrible, 48, right? Gave up 62 points, scored 14. I'd be pretty surprised if they scored 14 on Florida State. I don't think they're as bad as East Texas A&M, but I certainly think this is a game that Florida State can name their number. And a game that, man, I would like to see a repeat of what we saw in the East Texas A&M game where Florida State scores on their first 5 drives. I don't even care if that's 4 touchdowns and a field goal to get Weinberg some love. Boys just kicking extra points all day. I would like to see Florida State score on their first 4 or 5 possessions and just get their starters out of the game like they did last week, right? I don't think you can do that up 21-0. You probably can, let's be honest. But get up 28, get up 31, 35, somewhere in there, and just get them out. And if you can do that effectively and efficiently, you can get the backups in before halftime, which is the goal in this. Get out of this one healthy, and then you've got a short week to prepare for Virginia. I don't think it can be understated how big that Virginia game is. It's a team that went into Raleigh and scored 31 points, a team that in the 4th quarter, I looked this up because I did an ACC show, but NC State, UVA, kind of just chat with you guys for a minute, and then we'll give some love and see if anybody wants to call in. Yeah, I'll look this up so that I'm accurate about it, but I already kind of know what it is. It scored 31 points through 3 quarters. In the 4th quarter, they had a 47-yard drive, ended in a missed field goal. They had a 50-yard drive that they got stopped on a 4th and 1 inside of the NC State 10. And then on the last drive, they had a 69-yard drive in which from the NC State 12, they threw an interception. If they make a field goal or get 1 yard or kick, you kind of look back at it and you say you had 3 possessions that got down inside the 12-yard line. If you just, the first one didn't. It was a little longer field goal. So if you just kick a field goal on each of those drives, I mean, you win the game by 5, right? Because they were down by 4. So a team that moved the ball well enough to score 40 points in Raleigh. Now, their defense is atrocious. There's no doubt. But then they went out and scored 1 million against William and Mary. And I know it's William and Mary. That's not, that's not a flex to score 55 points against a terrible team that's not on the same talent field as them. But they are scoring a lot of points, and their offense does have a rhythm and it does have a flow. And it's a Friday night in conference, and it cannot be overstated how big that game is. The ACC is going to get weird this year. I'm just telling you. You look at there is such a clear and dividing line of good and bad ACC teams. Like there's not a lot of, like in the SEC, you've got good teams. I mean, I think Georgia's a good team. I think Tennessee's a good team. I think Oklahoma looks like a good team. You do have bad teams, right? South Carolina looks bad. Kentucky looks bad. But there are some average teams. I think Missouri is good to average. I think, Florida's bad, obviously. Vandy is good to average, right? They're a good team, but they're not great by any means. In the ACC, there are great teams and there are terrible teams, right? And the one exception to that looks like it might be Virginia, maybe NC State's kind of in that mid-level too. Georgia Tech looks really good. Miami looks really good. Florida State, just 2 games. They look really good. But the schedule's set up insane in the ACC this year. I don't know if anybody's looked at this. I don't know if this is not like a concern that anybody would have since Florida State's only played 2 games. But if you've looked at like Cal won their first game, right, in the ACC, and they're undefeated, right? Cal football. They don't play anybody else in conference. I'm sorry, I take that back. Cal has not played an ACC game yet. So I will take that back. Cal has beaten Oregon State, Texas Southern, and Minnesota, and looks pretty good doing it. Their true freshman quarterback looks really good doing it. They play in conference. Get a load of this. I don't know what Cal did to get this kind of an ACC schedule. They play Boston College. They should win. I think they can win that. They play Duke. They should win that after Duke just got embarrassed by Tulane and Illinois. They're a terrible team. They play UNC. UNC's got to go out to them. They should absolutely win that. They play Virginia Tech, who just fired their coach. They should win that. They play Virginia. Virginia's got to go out to them. That's a coin flip to me. They play at Louisville. That's their toughest game, in my opinion. And then they play Stanford, who's a dumpster fire, and they play SMU. Again, SMU has to go out to them. They don't play Georgia Tech. They don't play Clemson. They don't play Miami, and they don't play Florida State. Cal could legitimately, now it's early, Cal could legitimately go 7-1. And then you look at Georgia Tech's schedule. Georgia Tech schedule, 2025. Who does Georgia Tech have left? Well, they just beat their toughest opponent in Clemson. They have to play Wake Forest. They should win that. They have to play Virginia Tech. They should win that. They play Duke. They should win that. Syracuse. They should win that. They play Boston College and Pitt. I think they should win both of those, the Pitt games at home. And then they play NC State on the road at Raleigh. I guess the NC State game on the road is probably the toughest one. They could finish with 1 conference loss. Look at Miami's schedule. Look at Florida State's. Both of those teams could finish with 1 conference loss, or Florida State or Miami, I think, could go undefeated. We're going to get to the end of the year, and I think they're going to be like 3 or 4 teams with just 1 loss in conference, which makes things weird. I mean, the tiebreaker, we did some tiebreaker scenarios in College Football Addiction last year. It makes things really weird when you've got that many teams that all have 1 loss. And so I'm not real worried about that from a big picture perspective, but man, you're going to play Miami in a couple of weeks. And I know that's where everybody's attention's at. And you're going to go on the road in Clemson in early November. If you drop one of those, you might not make the ACC championship. Miami, say you lose to Miami, you would not have the head to head. So you'd kind of be a game and a half behind them. And you'd need everybody else to either you'd need to win a tiebreaker, or you'd need Georgia Tech to stumble or something of that nature. There's not a common opponent. So your loss against Miami. So it is tough if you drop that Virginia game. Right, we're all hyped up for the aspect of maybe a top 5 matchup in Doak, or maybe a top 7 matchup in Doak, which is where it would be right now. If you drop to Virginia, if you go out and beat Miami, then you do have the tiebreaker against them, so you can certainly make up for it. Just 8 days later. But man, that Virginia game, I don't want to. It's not. I mean, I don't care about looking past Kent State because I don't have to play, so it doesn't matter to me. But I said before the year started that I thought the Virginia game was the most important game of the season. I might kind of wiggle on that and say that maybe Bama is, now that you've won it, and it kind of changed the trajectory of the entire thing. But man, that Virginia game is so massive. So we'll talk about that a lot, obviously, once we get through this week against Kent State. We'll do a whole host of focus on Virginia, maybe bring on my buddy that covers them as well. But I do think, comment here from The very most recent one. Schedule is not, I agree with that. I don't think the schedule is tough. I think Miami's good. I think anytime you play Clemson in Death Valley, it is tough. I know that they're not what they once were, but that's still going to be a tough game. There's no doubt about it. And yeah, listen, if Lagway throws you 5 picks, that won't be a tough game either. But if he doesn't and they haven't quit by then, it's never easy to win in the swamp either. We've had years where we were way better than them and the game was close. We've had games where, we've really struggled to play there. So, yeah, but I agree. You look at the rest of the schedule, you should absolutely beat Virginia Tech. You should absolutely beat Pittsburgh, Wake Forest, Stanford. Those are wins. Obviously, this weekend's a win. The game against NC State and Raleigh, you're coming off of playing. I mean, you're playing Raleigh. You're playing in Raleigh the week before Gainesville and 2 weeks after Clemson. I think that's a game you're like, all right, let's not screw this up here. You could have literally everything to play for. You could clinch an ACC championship or regular season and then go on to the championship. You can't. I think every game is very winnable, and I think you should win just a ton of games in the ACC this year. But there's no doubt you could slip up a place you're not expected to. And a Friday night in conference, and again, thank you ACC. Florida State has to do it twice this year, and that does, I don't want to say worries me, but if they play the way they played against Alabama, they're not going to lose to anybody this year, is my opinion. But if you just drop off just a little bit, right? If you just don't have your A game and the other team does bring their A game or Virginia's offense gets rolling, this should be a concern for sure. I'm not going to psych myself up for that Virginia game too much right now, but I'll be nervous as heck all week next week because it'll just have been a month since we saw this team play an actual opponent. So way too early thoughts on UVA. We did look at this schedule before the year and say, man, like 8-4, 9-3 best case. I mean, the best case right now is 12-0. I'm not going to sit here and predict that at this point, but the best case has significantly risen. And I think your worst case, like outside of some major injuries, I think your worst case at this point is probably 8-4. Like if you drop, I don't even see how you really do that unless you really just kind of fall off a cliff, have some O-line injuries, can't get any kind of protection for Tommy. That would be my concern there. But man, I think I'm at the point now where I think 9-3 would almost be a disappointment. Like it's only 2 games in. I get that, but you're going to start 3-0. You should start 4-0 with the top 5 matchup coming in. I really think this should be a 10-2 team. And if you go 10-2, I do think you're probably sneaking your way into the playoffs because they're going to want to put Alabama in and they can't put Alabama in unless they put you in as well. Let's look through some comments. Again, there is a call-in link. Oh, you know what? I'll give Halo some love real quick. This is a new partnership that we've got going with drinkhalo.com. We had them out at the tailgate. In our next episode. Harlan, you can cue up Matthew. I hope that's the Matthew from last week. Prayers up that it is, due to skipping class right now to talk on Double Fries No Slaw. But drinkhalo.com. We had them out of the tailgate for the Bama game. So if you were out there, go check them out. It is a THC infused seltzer. No hangover, low calorie options, very discreet shipping. They've got both a tea and like an iced tea and a lemonade. And the move is to get both and mix those, right? So some of you drink, some of you don't drink. Some of you it's not like a crazy amount of THC that's in it, but you will enjoy it if you try it. We had it out of the tailgate and those guys, my buddies, David and Chris, their arms are about to fall off with how many people kept going up and asking for refills of that. Maybe not the best thing to drink right before a game. Well, no, for a big game for sure. Maybe calmed my nerves a little bit as the as they were starting to flow before that Bama game. So yeah, I take that back. A great thing to drink before the game. So appreciate drinkhalo.com. Appreciate my buddy Chris and David over there. Go check them out. Link is in the description. And again, I'm working on a video that my buddy Michael shot at the tailgate. We'll have some visuals for you. But again, a lemonade, an iced tea. Everybody's into the seltzers now. I've got a friend that like exclusively just drinks the seltzers. I don't know. I've just been a beer guy for my whole life, but maybe I'll be converted at some point as well. All right, cool. We got a bunch of callers lined up. Let's get Matthew in first. Harlan. Is he in?
What's up? I'm in class change, so I only got like a couple minutes. But
Bro, he's calling between classes. You're the GOAT,
hello,
Matthew.
did you hear me?
Yeah, how's it going?
But I feel like one loss to Miami, we should be just fine because we're beating Florida. Florida's gonna be horrendous, but just down bad by the time we have to play them.
Yeah,
If we
no,
had to play Florida in an earlier season, I'd be more scared. But Virginia. I think we got Virginia, and you're saying like all this Cal stuff. Cal's gonna drop a stupid game. As long, even if we have our one loss to Miami, I think it's just fine. So
yeah, like I'm not gonna play the Miami. I mean, the Miami game
I'll
does
let you
matter.
go.
No, I appreciate you, Matthew.
Oh yeah,
Enjoy. What class? Hey, what class you got next?
go Knowles.
Go Noles. He might not be able to hear me as well. Dude's calling in from school. What a legend. Vinny, Josh, I see you guys down there. I'll get you on in just a sec. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Florida State, I'm not playing the game of like conceding to Miami, but you're going to play a top 3 team. I think there's Miami has some advantages, Florida State has some advantages, and with the new playoff kind of guidelines that were put out that I crapped all over, where losses don't matter, well, that might benefit Florida State if they win that game. Yeah, I mean, they're the favorites to win the ACC and certainly the favorites to go to the playoff in the conference. If they lose it, they're certainly not out of anything. Everything's still right out in front of them. You lose to a top 3 team, you could probably afford one more loss as the year goes on, as long as it's not like just an absolute bludgeoning or something in the last week of the year. You'd be fine, right? So I don't want to minimize the importance of that game, because if you win it, you put yourself in the driver's seat and shoot. Yeah, I think if Florida State wins that game, starts out 5-0, they're a top 3 team in the country, and we're all kind of looking at, all right, man, what do hotel prices look like the first weekend in Tallahassee? So yeah, no, I agree. Matthew, thanks for calling in, and thanks for ignoring school to do it. Vinny, let's get Vinny on real quick and see what he's got. Josh, if you come back, you're welcome in as well. But Vinny, what's going on, man?
Morning, TJ. Longtime listener, first time caller. Keep up the good work.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
I could tell you part of me is not jumping the gun, but I was going to Florida State my freshman, sophomore, junior year. We were in a national championship game. So I hearken back to the glory days.
Yeah.
But seeing what has transpired as of late has got me really excited. However, there was some news out of UCLA that kind of has me in a negative mood this morning. Coach Deshaun Foster got the axe, and I think our defensive coordinator is one of the hot names on the list to fill that role. What are your thoughts? I can tell you I'm a little troubled thinking about it. To me, it makes sense for Tony White to go there, but we've got some things cooking, and I think having Tony White command this defense for 2 years will net us hopefully in a national championship hunt next year.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you calling in. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely concerning. I will say this. The hot names for a job a lot of times like don't end up being that guy. So like I'll give you like I don't know if I'm just like this is how I'm coping or what, but I'll kind of give you the things that why I'm not. I mean, I am worried about it. There's a part of me that's like, shoot, this would really suck. The reasons I'm not worried, and mentioned this a little bit on Sunday, but I'll kind of give you my thoughts and just people I've talked with. The fact that Arnett is on staff, that would be your next defensive coordinator. And I'm not saying that he's as good as Tony White. I understand it's been 2 games of White, and you want to stay with it. But like your next coordinator is on staff, a guy that has coached in the SEC, got handed an impossible situation in the SEC with the death of Mike Leach, and a really good coordinator that is having an impact right now as well, or a really good analyst that's having an impact, right now. So I do like that you kind of know that the next guy up, most likely, right? Like I'm not saying that Mike couldn't go in another direction, is already on staff and is already learning from and working with Tony White. The next thing that gives me some confidence is Foster was an alum too, and basically got handed a terrible program where the fans don't care about it and the boosters don't care about it. And you got to go beg people to come to games, and you got to go beg people for money, and everyone likes to go home. I get that. But it's not the same to me as like Kenny Dillingham going home or other people that have done that. Now, I'm not saying that White would just turn it down because UCLA is a dumpster fire right now, but is going and being the head coach at UCLA, is it his dream at some point? I'm sure it is. Is it a better situation for him than sticking it out with Florida State one more year and then taking a truly elite job? Now, these guys are prideful. There's no doubt. I don't mean that in a bad way at all, but yeah, there's a part of Tony White that thinks, oh, I can turn this around. You got to have some confidence in yourself. So, but I do think that there's a really good possibility that Tony White could say, man, I'd love to do that. But my gosh, there's no booster support. There's no fan support. Nobody in UCLA. I mean, UCLA is like the sixth most important thing in Los Angeles, right? Like the Lakers and then the Dodgers and then USC football and shoot, the Angels might be above it. The Kings might be above it. Like there's a lot ahead. I mean, the Rams are there now too. So I don't know, man. There's a lot that I would say nobody cares about UCLA football there. And so that probably helps Florida State too. The last thing that kind of gives me a little bit of not as much worry, right? Or this isn't really a confidence thing, is I only expected Tony White to be here for 2 years from the jump. Like I thought he came here to be a really good defensive coordinator, do his thing, and then go be a head coach somewhere. If that happens 1 year earlier than we wanted, it would suck to have only had him for 1 year, especially if it's a really good defense through 12 games. But it's not like you lost a guy that you were expecting to be here for 5 years. So those are the things that maybe I'm lying to myself and saying, but those are my thoughts, like how I kind of am coping with the idea of him leaving. Also, I'm incredibly nervous about the game on Friday night against UVA. I'm nervous about the Miami game. I'm still nervous about going to Death Valley. I'm nervous about tripping up against teams like Pitt or NC State. And then certainly still, I know they suck, but certainly still nervous about going to the Swamp. So I also don't have the headspace to be nervous about Tony White and what he does in late November. But when I do think about it, I'm like, man, I don't even know if he would take that, because you saw what happened with Foster. You saw what, the mess that UCLA is. And Florida State, if they have a really good defense this year, they will do everything in their power to keep him. And again, I do think that I think he wants to be a head coach. Like he's not like Malzahn, where he's kind of happy with what he's doing right now, or Chip Kelly at Ohio State, or Jim Knowles, or like some guys just don't, like the draw of being a head coach is just not what it used to be with today's football. So anyway, I don't know if any of that helps or not, but that's what I'm lying to myself with right now.
I mean, it does comfort me, and I guess a little bit. UCLA's situation is probably one of the worst out there in the ACC, let alone the country. Probably one of the worst in the country. But I got to give Tony White and the defense some credit. We might miss tackles, we might miss some assignments, but again, I was talking about the glory days a little while ago. To me, we're playing fast, we're playing physical, we're swarming, we're flying to the ball. We're slobber knocking again. I mean, I haven't seen this type of defense in a long time. Not even in 2023. We had some standout defense, but they weren't going to tattoo somebody like they are
No.
this season. So anyways, TJ, thanks for letting me call in. Appreciate the good work. Appreciate all the work, and keep it up. All right.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, man. We can't do this unless you guys come in and be part of it. And so I appreciate you calling a ton, and always good chatting, my man. I agree fully on Tony White with what he was saying. Like it's just a renewed energy. And I know it's been, what do you call it? Like a game and a half. Cause how much are you really putting into that Kent State thing? But they do, man. They hit harder. They look more inspired. And I know a lot of these guys on this defense were here last year and had to live through hell, which was the season where your offense can't do crap. But man, they just look different this year. And I do think his mindset would not allow that. He'll kick guys off the team. I saw what's his name was up at Hussey was up at Oregon State now, like you want to, FAFO, then be Tony White's guest. And that's also why Shaheem's not starting at this moment. So Josh, what's going on, my man? Josh, can you hear me okay? Arlen, you want to pull Josh? Yeah. Next time, just maybe check and see if you can hear him. I turned the offstage feeds off, so I can't hear it. So if you want to try and talk with him a little bit beforehand, just see how his connection is. I will give, just very quickly while we're on here, again, Double Fries No Slaw morning show presented by Sleeper. Presented by Halo. Sorry. I will give Sleeper some love. Make sure you are playing the more or less game with them. We'll pick some stuff tomorrow night. I don't know what'll be available for the Florida State game, but if nothing's available from Florida State, we will certainly give some love to Sleeper and pick some other stuff from the big college football games that exist through the country. Make sure you use our code DFNS for 100% deposit match up to $100. Terms and conditions apply, so check out Sleeper's terms of use. I hit on everything last week that I put in -1. I don't know what they are. I can't tell you. I didn't go through and look, but I do know that my bankroll is bigger now than it was last week. So I hit on everything but one. I think what I missed on was Lagway's passing yards. If I'd have taken his interceptions, certainly I would have been in much better shape. So sleeper.com, not sleeper.com, sleeper app, again, code DFNS. All right, let's try Josh again. Harlan, if we can get him in, and we'll roll there. Josh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, how's it going, man?
I'm doing good. About you?
I'm good, man. 2-0. Ready to be 3-0.
Yes, sir. Man, I'm super excited about this year, man. This is the most physical team I've seen us field since 2013.
Yeah, the way I was talking about that with Vinny a little bit. Like, just their mindset is so different. Like the way they hit. Like I made a quick little clip, and if I'd have thought about it or known we were going to talk about this, I would have grabbed it or whatever. But just like the way Little was hitting in that game. I mean, obviously it was against his former team, and he got doubted last year and all those things. But it wasn't just him. The way Ashton Barker was hitting, the way that the defensive line stepped up. I mean, shoot, even the way they gave. I was more impressed with Bama because it's Bama, right? But like I was even impressed with their effort level against East Texas A&M. Like they cared. And last year they didn't give a crap. And I didn't give a crap either. No. I was just like, get me to the end of the year, man. Like my favorite play of the game was when Lagway kneeled it down at the end of last year just to be done with it. But I like that touchdown against Georgia Tech too, man. I was riding high on that one. But like they care this year. And like that's so evident when a team has the right mentality, because they're not going to be perfect, man. They're probably not going to go 12-0, and they're probably not going to win every game, and they're not always going to look great, and they're probably going to have to come from behind in some games. Like that's just how football works. But they look like they actually give a crap, and to me, that's the most encouraging. That's more encouraging than the execution. That's more encouraging than Gus Malzahn scheming it up. That's more encouraging than anything else. They look like they care, and after a year where nobody in the building cared, it's nice to see that most of them, if not all of them, care at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, look at college football all over the place right now. I mean, there ain't no real one true dominant team. Ohio State don't look like they did last year. Let's see, Texas, they're off. Oregon looks good, but not super dominant. I mean, it's kind of wide open.
I think so. Yeah. No, I think the two most impressive teams in the country so far this year have been Florida State and Miami. Like I don't even, and I wouldn't even say that, I'm sure that those are the best two teams, because I do still think it's really wide open. Georgia against Tennessee looked really good too. And maybe they were just saving stuff in their early games. But I think the most impressive teams in the country are in this state, and so it's hard to know, like, I mean, we make a big deal about the rankings and this, that, and the other. I mean, could we be the seventh best team? Could we be the third best team? I think we're somewhere in that range. Like, I think we've been that impressive, but you're right. Like you just got to keep going. Like you can't, we all think you're like a top 10 team right now, maybe better. I mean, can't go lay an egg on the road at Virginia, right? Like if you lose to Miami in a close game where both two good teams play and just one break goes their way, I mean, whatever, man. Like obviously I don't want to lose that game. It'd be the game I want to win the most this year, but everything else, man, you got to go out and win everything else. Like there should not be any in this team. Where are you calling from, Josh? Where are you from?
I'm from Easley, South Carolina, about 30 minutes from Clemson.
30 Are you going to the game?
I am.
Dude, awesome. Awesome. We'll have to get together, bro. You have to hit me up that week.
Yes, sir.
Well, Josh, I appreciate anything else. Got any other comments, questions? I'm not trying to cut you off.
I don't think so at the moment.
Oh, cool. Well, I appreciate you a ton, man, for calling in. Call in anytime, man. We're here every Tuesday.
Yes, sir. Go Noles.
Appreciate you, buddy. Go Noles.
Yes, sir.
I'm telling you, it's hard to not. You do kind of want to temper some expectations, because we haven't forgotten about last year. I know last year's not in the forefront of anybody's mind, but it's hard to not be excited. It's hard to not think like, man, not many people had us going 3-0 with a chance to go a lot and 0 and get a lot of wins on this schedule, to where, I mean, Richie and I talked about it the other day. You look at the FPI right now, and Florida State's, they say they're definitely going to win 9 games. And then in 2 of those games are complete coin flips, the Clemson and Florida games. If I offered you, I mean, nobody wants to lose to Miami. I get that. And I want to beat them so bad. And they want the same thing. And they're a good team, and it'll be tough but for both teams. It'll be a great win for whoever gets it. But if I offered you 11-1 right now, after last year, I don't know how many people would say no to that. And I understand that, 12-0 would be nice. There's no doubt about it. But if I offered you 11-1 right now and told you that was a realistic possibility, shoot, if I offered you 10-2, most of you'd take it, I'm sure. But it's hard to not be excited about where it looks like we're headed. Let me give Halo love one more time. Again, drinkhalo.com, a THC seltzer, both lemonade and tea options available. Again, the move is to get both and mix them and kind of make an Arnold Palmer. If you're really tough, you mix both of the 16-ounce cans and drink 32 ounces, but then, maybe do that with some moderation or do that responsibly if you can. Appreciate you guys. Quick morning show today. Appreciate the callers. Appreciate those that jumped in and commented. I'm excited. I'm excited for this weekend. Excited to have a somewhat relaxing weekend. If you're going to Doak, we're not doing a tailgate, but the Battles Inn does a great one. Look, I've got my Battles. I don't know if you can see it, but my Battles Inn quarter zip on as always to support. So go check them out. If you're tailgating, that's a great option for you. Right next to the stadium, right by the Legacy Walk. I've got some friends that I told about that yesterday that I think are going to go by. So make sure that you are supporting FSU's athletes with the Battles End and, of course, Seminole Boosters. Get your tickets to these games, man. We're selling out games. I mean, you guys realize, I know I was just closing there, but I am also just going to say this. We're selling out games against East Texas A&M and Kent State. If you want to be able to go to games this year, they're all going to sell out. Like, just get season tickets, which is very reasonable. They're not very expensive. I think through the boosters, you pay $70 and then season tickets are like $250 for the year or something astronomically low. You can get season tickets for like $300 a ticket. You get 7 home games with that. You get the Bama game. The Bama game alone was more than that if you were buying on the secondary market. So yeah, make sure you support and get season tickets. If you don't live close or you can't make it to all the games, just give your tickets away. That's what I end up doing. I end up giving all my tickets away. So make sure you're supporting because it's going to get harder and harder to get season tickets as this team continues to climb. So that's my last shout out for the day. That's all I got. Make sure you are liking the video and subscribing to the channel. We will be back on Wednesday night. Got some other stuff dropping throughout the week, but we'll be back on Wednesday night. So tomorrow night to talk about Kent State, talk about the game, and then maybe look around the country and see what else is going on because Florida State will be 3-0 after Saturday night. So maybe 7:30 or so, we'll be sitting here at 3-0. And who knows, maybe the only undefeated team in the state if Florida can pull their head out of their butts. So who knows? Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Go Noles.